Really? Welcome to another episode of How It Be with Danny G on the road. All right, so today we're going to talk about some drain cleaning situations that we kind of get ourselves into sometimes. I'm probably 600 miles from home, and the kitchen sink there at my folks' house is plugged badly. Of course, someone has convinced my father that the the vent is plugged or not working. He's got a Studer vent, air admittance valve, and they've convinced him that's the reason it's not draining right. And from 600 miles away, I kept trying to convince him that that's not your problem. Your problem is your kitchen drain line somewhere. Probably has years of grease built up, as we kind of all run into on a daily basis. And so nevertheless, fast forward, I'm here for a visit. I'm not here to work. I'm here for a visit. And I decided to go ahead and prove, A, that it wasn't the vent, but more importantly, fix the problem and get their sink to drain properly. So now we're plumbing on the road. We don't have any tools or equipment to do it with. You all may have been in similar situations there as well, but you kind of make the best with what you have. In this situation, I pretty much made a jetter. Without it being high pressure, I made a jetter. Knowing that it needed to be jetted, I actually tried to rod it with a small handheld drill attached rodding device that my dad had bought up at Lowe's. And that actually made it worse, because as I broke up the little particles of grease, it made it further down the drain line and then completely plugged. So, but 25 foot wasn't long enough to get to the blockage, and so we went ahead and went back up to Lowe's to look for other options. There wasn't another option to get a longer one, as then I had to buy a small machine for $300 or $400 and didn't really want to go that route. And they were sold out of that machine anyhow, and there was very few options as far as stores in this area to be able to get stuff. So I have to improvise. I have to become MacGyver and figure it out. So I decided to kind of make my own jetter of sorts using a 100-foot roll of 3/8 poly tubing. Used a shark bite fitting, brass on one end. That took me to 1/2-inch female thread. Then another fitting to screw onto that. Then that fitting went to a hose fitting. So now we use the garden hose, brought that in, connected it. So now we have our connection to be able to hook up to water. Actually put a valve in between there to be able to control it. So then on the end going down the drain, put another shark bite, brass shark bite to 1/2-inch female, and got a poly fitting that was 1/2-inch male threads by 1/4-inch barb. So that became the jetter just pushing forward so that I could go down and clear the blockage, get it to start draining again. Took a little bit of doing, but it actually worked. Of course, I had to manage the water that was coming back, and I was doing that for a while. I was doing that very successfully. Got a lot of grease coming back. Was able to take a small hospital pan and dump that over into a 5-gallon bucket. And we fill that up and take that out and dump it out in the yard or out somewhere out back. Until we ran into somewhat disaster, and The bucket that my father provided me was probably 50 years old. It was the only option. It was working fine until I went to lift it and it shattered, disintegrated into pieces. And all that yucky water went all over the kitchen. And I was right in the middle of it. So that did not go well. I hope someone gets a good laugh out of it. My daughter sure got a good laugh out of it. At the time, I did not find it funny. I'm still not far enough removed where I find it funny. Nevertheless, it is what it is. Sometimes you just got to make lemonade when life hands you lemons. So, got that mess cleaned up and continued. So I pulled the once it started to drain, then I pulled that out, drilled 3 holes in the sides of that plastic poly fitting on the end, so that we could now wash the sides of the pipe as best we can.
Do that again, Dad.
Sort of soft, and then butter.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and include some video and a few pictures, and you guys can kind of see what jetting on the road without the proper jetting equipment is. I think altogether we're looking at around $70 worth of all the material that he bought. Side note, did try to get one of the small blow bags, the small black fitting that you put on there that expands. Got that while we were there at Lowe's for 10 bucks. That did not expand. So I don't know if his water pressure wasn't great enough. He's on a well here, and I didn't look into all that. All I know is it would not expand. So that was my first option, to at least get it to try to start draining before I tried the jetting, and that way I wouldn't have to deal with the water that was coming back. But that did not work. It would not expand. So I believe we're taking that part back. But nevertheless, I'll go ahead and roll a little bit of video and go ahead and include some pictures. But if you have any other ideas, go ahead and make comments. Constructive comments only, please. When you're on the road, you pretty much have to do with what you got. And the good news is, got it all cleaned out, or very, very cleared out. It's draining great. It was not the vent. It was, in fact, miles of grease in the 1.5 inch PVC drain line. So it was pretty plugged up. But we got it fixed. Today's a new day, and we'll move on. But wanted to help someone else out with this idea of kind of making a jetter whenever you don't have one available to you. Again, it's not high pressure. It's not going to do as good as a jetter. So I'm not trying to make that claim that this here was as good or better than a jetter. But when you're dealing with what you got to deal with, you make it work. All right. So that's all I got for now. Off to enjoy some vacation time with the family. Take care.
Wow. Unbelievable. And you like working in this.
I love this. This is
gold.
Man, that's liquid gold right there. We should be close to getting it to start draining on its own. All right, go ahead and let it go.
what you learned the year before. So
Yeah, but sometimes it has.
That's a good sound there.
you want to take this game?
What time is it? I think at 11:30.
Are you cheering tomorrow?
I cheer almost mainly every Saturday during my last
Look at that.
Next Saturday's for last. Next Saturday's for homecoming, so that's when they do their little dance.
Oh, fine. If I'm not working next Saturday, the Saturday coming up, not
The 24th. A week from tomorrow.
Do you have a picture?
Oh,
Video of my home?
I'm working.
I see some of hers on Facebook.
I'll show you. I have a video of her cheering for the first time. I think, I don't know if it was for the first time, but
I'm gonna call that a
it was
success.
like one of the videos.
It is so nice to have Danny here to help us out. We really and truly appreciate it. Didn't know he was going to make a big mess.
A big mess? Come on, Mom. Dad gave me an old bucket. Super old bucket. It wasn't my fault. I couldn't help it.
But my gosh, what a blessing it is to have a sink that goes shh. Right, honey?
Right on. Right on.
All right.
It wasn't the same thing as I thought it would be, but he had his way and now it's fixed.
Yay!
Yay! And that's how it be with Danny G.